Welcome to Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 119. I'm Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Chris Carruthers from the Remote Support Tech Team. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing pretty good, Jeff. How are you?
I am doing excellent. Albeit, a little cold up here. But other than that, we're doing good.
You don't get to talk to me about cold. That's it.
Yes, you're a lot farther north than we are, so that's true. Also joining us today, we have John Dubinsky from MavenGroup.net. How you doing, John?
Doing great, Jeff. Thanks for having me here.
No problem. Good to have you. And also, we have a newcomer, but someone who's been in the business for a long time. We have Tom Lawrence from LawrenceSystems.com. How you doing, Tom?
Doing great.
Good to have you on the show, guys.
Appreciate it.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about, Chris, we're going to start with you, since you're left to right and you're first in my lineup.
Uh-oh.
And basically, is there anything that you've been working on this week, or any types of things that might help some people out there with stuff you've been dealing with, or what kind of stuff have you been dealing with over the last couple weeks?
Well, to be honest with you, Jeff, most of what I've been dealing with, other than the day-to-day tech support, is getting ready to get into our new office, which I'm very excited about, and just making sure that the repair tech solutions rollout is going as smoothly as I hoped, which so far it is. But yeah, the majority of the time that I've been spending is furniture shopping and getting the new office ready.
Furniture shopping, that sounds lovely.
It is a barrel of fun, Jeff, especially with my wife there helping me.
Well, I'm sure she's having, fun alongside you there.
Oh, she's doing a fantastic job.
Hey, what about
Amazon deliver up there?
Oh.
Yeah, Amazon.ca delivers up here. It's a whole different ballgame.
Hey, how's the Repair Tech Solutions Tech USB working out for your customers?
Those who have decided to start using it, it's actually been great. They've stopped wasting nearly as much time sending things to us that are hardware problems.
Okay, good.
And yeah, it's just overall, I think that it's improved their process and it's improved the turnaround time. So they've been getting their customers back their computers a lot sooner.
That's good. That's always a good thing to have in your business is that turnaround time. Nobody wants to be without their computer for long periods of time.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, the reason why we were looking at it, and I know you and I have had this conversation, I don't know if we spoke about this on air, but the biggest reason why I wanted to roll something like that out is because, if you're not testing the hardware before you start jumping into a tune-up or a virus removal, you have no idea if the hard drive's starting to go bad or there's something else wrong. And I think just putting that process in place, even if it's not with Repair Tech Solutions, but just testing the hard drive, testing the RAM, testing the processor, those three things should be tested before you're doing anything else. Right.
No, that's very, very good point. It's something I wasn't always doing in my business, but I am emphatic about doing it now. I definitely test the hardware out just to make sure, because I don't want to spend 3-4 hours on something and go, oh, wait a minute, the RAM's bad or the hard drive's dying or whatever.
Right, so, and I just wasted 2 hours trying to do a virus removal on a system that isn't even infected.
Oh, that's
so
horrible.
We're all in agreement. The first three things we should check are hard drive, RAM, and then just a basic hardware scan.
Yeah, I actually, to be honest with you, I cheat. I actually use the diagnostic tools on most of the OEM vendors that they have when you press F8 or F12 or whatever. Yeah, when you're booting into the machine, I'll go right in there and actually I'll just let it run through its hardware tests, and it tests the CPU, it tests the hard drive, it tests the RAM. And I know they're not all-inclusive tests. Maybe they don't cover everything, but it gives me a baseline to start with. If I see everything that's green in there, then I'll continue to troubleshoot it and go from that point.
Our process is we always start with a PXE boot of Ubuntu that we have on our network, and we check the smart status. And also, because Ubuntu pushes into memory and will suck up all the RAM they have, kind of test it with that. We also have memtest on the PXE boot too, so it's like first couple things we check, because you're right, there's nothing like beating your head against the wall. You get the virus off and you find out they got a ton of bad sectors. You're like, well, now I got to call them anyways. They got to reload it.
Right.
Right, and then what if they say no? No, you know what? I don't want to put that kind of money into it. I'll just take my computer back and pay your diagnostic fee. Right, and now I've done a full virus removal on a system that I can't really charge them for because the hard drive's bad.
Right.
Yeah, I hammered into my guys' heads. You gotta check that first because it'll save you the trouble. If the customer's patient, we'll actually sometimes check the hard drive status right on the bench or right like on the check-in process because we're standing around. If they want to wait a minute while it boots up, I think it boots up in like a minute. So just keeps things moving along so we can get an approval right away.
Yeah.
And that's great. Now, when you're using the Pixie boot server, now if you can, go ahead and explain what that is for those that don't know.
We actually, PXE boot is network boot server, so we have gigabit network, so everything transfers real fast. You plug it in, mostly, press F10, F12, depending on the system, and it'll boot right over the network. So even if there's not a hard drive in there, or the hard drive's not even, visible to the OS, you can boot right up in there. And the back end we're actually using is a fog server. It's an open source project for schools because we use it for imaging too. We have everything set up on menus, so we can just re-image computers as soon as they come in right over the fog server to the PXE menu.
Great. And so over the gigabit Ethernet, it's very fast to get those images from point A.
I can have Windows 7. Windows 7 loaded with updates is 16 minutes.
That's fast. Okay. Yep. All right. Very good. I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah, we turn and burn with them. It's really nice. We custom wrote the menus, so when you pull up the PXE menu, and this is all stuff that I've been wanting to video, is I want to just document on our website. This is how we're doing it, so we can show other techs how to do this. Now, everything I do is open source. I give everything away if anyone wants it. It's all done in virtual boxes, so I can actually export all the files. And then you can load them on anything that's hosting VirtualBox. But yeah, we got a custom written menu, so you can run memtest from it. You can boot Ubuntu from it. You can re-image with different versions of Windows on there. So we still have XP on there, but we don't really load that anymore. Windows 7, whether it's Home or Pro, whether you can choose it from a menu, press Enter, and boom, it sends the image right over there.
Okay. No, wow, that's great. Now, we'll definitely be talking. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that because I'm still old school. Believe it or not, I still throw CDs and USB sticks in my computer.
If we have to, we will. We've run into some that it just doesn't work on for no reason.
Gotcha.
So it's not a bulletproof system, but I'd say it works on about 90% of the computers. It's pretty solid process.
That's good. That's real good. Anybody else? Hey, John, why don't you go ahead and tell us anything you've been working on over the last couple weeks that you find interesting to let others know about?
Well, I would put myself in the same ball as Chris, most of the regular stuff this week, but really what we've been working on has been trying to find another solution versus our LogMeIn Central rollout. I don't know if anybody else uses LogMeIn and LogMeIn Central, but they just changed all their pricing. So when our renewal rolls around for all the computers that we monitor, my price for that's going to probably more than double.
I've heard that from a couple different people. Yeah. They've been talking about that people are looking for other systems to move to because they're going to double the price. And does anybody know why they're doing that?
I think they're just trying to graduate their system a little bit. I mean, LogMeIn Central was always a combination of being able to use LogMeIn Pro and LogMeIn Free. So I think they're trying to graduate that into a market where they can compete with more of the Enable, the GFIs, or Max Focus, and all that kind of stuff, versus what they've been trying to do, which was mainly a focus on remote access, with Central added on, which gave you remote management features.
How are the remote management features compared to something like a GFI, though?
For what we used it for, it was great because we would use it in combination with like Ninite, and we could use their function called one-to-many to roll out scripts and do other things like that. So I never found it lacking. Really what I liked about it versus some of the other competitors was I could have a tech or I could have a partner company work on that, and the learning curve is much lower. Instead of having to try walk into a full Max Focus rollout and all that. Lacking, some of the features might not be as powerful, meaning the dashboard and that sort of thing. So now we're looking at maybe new antivirus, which you and I have discussed in the past. I'm really liking F-Secure, what I've seen from them. I've spun up Screen Connect on a EC2 Amazon, playing with that. So I haven't... we haven't decided on anything for sure, but anybody has any tips, I'm all ears.
Now Screen Connect just got scooped up by ConnectWise.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's going to be interesting because I know there's a lot of techs and a lot of companies that use ConnectWise out there, but I also understand that it's, it can be quite costly compared to other systems that are out there.
Yeah, I would put it into one of those at the premium. Sorry to interrupt, Tom, but I would, if I was going to choose on that level, I would probably go with LabTech, but I'm not interested in that much for my needs. But go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
We use Screen Connect, and I've been really happy with them. I'm hoping their pricing model doesn't change because I've bought a few licenses for the product, and we've got a lot of systems all set up with monitoring. It's been a really nice product. I self-host it, and we have had no issues with it. It's been really, we have a policy because you can build, with the plugins, they have a build installer, and we install it on every computer that leaves here or any computer we've ever worked on. We leave it a shortcut on their desktop. It's an executable that lets them put their name in and auto-connect to us, which, of course, saves them the time of even telling them to go to the website. So, I don't want to switch from their product because we probably have, 500 computers with it on there.
Oh, yes. That would be quite an undertaking.
Yeah.
No, when I called them, I had a little talk about them. At least for now, the sales rep has said, no, nothing's changing. But who knows what could happen tomorrow.
Well, yeah, but a sales rep will tell you pretty much anything that they need to get you to buy.
You got it, Chris, yeah.
Oh,
and they'll change it as soon as I roll it out and get about 700 PCs installed into it. Then I'll have to make a change again. So. Right.
Well, I know, I'm using Instant House Call myself, and I like it just for the fact of I've never used Screen Connect, but I have used, TeamViewer, LogMeIn, some of those other ones out there. And so far, Instant House Call is just so dead simple to use. It's easy for me to understand. It's easy for my customers to understand, and it works for me. So
that's definitely in the mix. They do a great job. I agree with that.
Yeah, obviously they don't have the management tools that the other ones do, but that's when you use specific software for management tools like GFI with the Max Focus, which that's what we do. Right, we have Instant House Call for the one-offs, and then we have the GFI for our managed service plan with the unattended access.
Right, and I know even with the GFI service, even with the the TeamViewer module plugin, there will be times I'll go into the customer's machine using that, and then load up Instant House Call and start using
it. Yeah. Well, and it's true, especially if you have something that you want to do, and it's like Auto PC Repair will take care of this for me. Right. So we wind up doing the same thing. We use TeamViewer to connect to them, and then we transfer over our Instant House Call installer and connect that way.
Right. Yeah. That's good. All right. So that's there's a lot of changes in the industry going on right now. I think it's going to be interesting to watch. I think some of these companies are going to some of the smaller companies are going to start growing and becoming bigger because they're going to start. People are looking to use something that works, and if somebody's going to double their price, and that's a big hit to any company. I don't care what size you are.
Yeah, that's not a good move on their part, in my opinion. I mean, that's a big jump Logitech LogMeIn wants to do.
Right.
Well, our problem is we have, all of our contract clients are LogMeIn Pro, and then we, for all the smaller clients and mom and dad or whatever would be on LogMeIn Free, all under the central interface with LogMeIn. But now what they've done is there is no Pro or Free anymore. It's all the same, so all of those count against your installed PC base. So what went from about 550 is now at about 840. So,
well, and let's look at what they're trying to do, though, right? And obviously, I don't know anybody at LogMeIn, so I'm not taking insider information here. But any company that makes a move like that is trying to do two things. They're trying to make their product look more professional, which LogMeIn, in my mind, was already professional, but that's a different conversation. And they don't want to deal with small accounts, right? By moving into this type of a billing model, they're going to get rid of all of those small accounts that they have because nobody who's that small is going to want to pay for it. And then the large enterprise level accounts, they're not going to have any problems forking the money out because they were probably already paying for the Pro in the first place.
See, I'm a big advocate in this industry that I really appreciate companies, especially when they're starting out and as they grow, that they have a tiered system. And what I mean by that is that they have a system that, a small company can get in at a certain price, and as you get, higher and higher and bigger, then you can go to another tier and so on and so forth. I really appreciate that because it covers all the industry. But when a company basically, it's like, this could go into a whole another conversation. But when people don't want to take care of everybody, especially the small businesses, which is the meat and potatoes of this country. Not to get on my soapbox, but it just kind of frustrates me that those companies are just going, yeah, hey, thanks for bringing us to where we are, and but we don't need you anymore. We're moving on. It doesn't set well with me.
Well, not to take away your megaphone here, Jeff, but I mean, it's it's the same thing throughout North America, right? In Canada, it's small businesses are huge, especially in Barrie where I am. Most of the businesses here are small businesses, 1, 2, 3, 4 employee businesses, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're not all techs, obviously, but they're cutting out that entire section because they don't want to put the time into dealing with it. But that's when a company like that should deal with distributorship rather than just cutting them off. And I mean, look at SOS, right? So SOS, they don't want to deal with accounts that are less than a terabyte, and I don't blame them. So what do? Well, they set up a distributor system. So companies like me, we can go and we can set ourselves up as distributor and buy terabytes of space so that we can set up resellers with smaller, like 100 gig accounts to take it off of them because they don't want to deal with it. So that's what I don't get is why LogMeIn, instead of just cutting all of those people off, think, maybe we should set up like a distributor tier and get somebody else to deal with those smaller accounts. There's no reason really not to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely a good point.
I think it also opens the market up, though, because like we just brought up Screen Connect, it's an opportunity in the market to seize, create market space. They're going to push us out as a small business. That's fine. Companies like Screen Connect have offerings. Of course, they just got bought up, but they've got offerings that work for us. So. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Instant House Call did the same thing. Like they have their Uno service now, which is I think $25 a month or something like that. So this is a good opportunity for similar businesses to roll out different promotions or maybe even a different tier to get some of those smaller accounts in. Where you're going to start seeing the big leap is whether or not people decide to start separating their RMM and their remote support, or if they want to keep them all in one spot.
Yeah, we use Max Focus GFI as well, and I'm hoping they don't change too much. I've been really happy with them. We have a lot of deployments for our business, but Screen Connect is just my go-to solution because it being cross-platform. We help a lot of people with Macs. Running Linux myself, I only try to run everything open source inside my business, so Screen Connect makes me happy because it works great on Ubuntu, no problems, either as a host or a client, so no problems with it.
Yeah, that's important because you're right. A lot of these other tools are, a Windows. They'll work in Windows. Yeah. Some will work in Mac, but there's not a whole lot that will work in all three. And that's a good point when you're using that stuff. Yeah, very cool. Good. All right. Well, Tom, what kind of stuff have you been working on?
This past week's been a little bit of a hell week for me. We had to hire a few extra contractors. We pulled in 8 days 70,000 feet of Cat 5e cabling. We rewired a couple of big car dealerships, and we put in 320 drops. So it's been a little hectic. We do a lot of infrastructure build-outs for companies. Put in all the racks, the terminals, get everything set up. We act as an outside IT for like some schools and things like that for special projects. They have their internal IT guys, but they had a really narrow completion time for this. So it took 9 people to pull that much cable, and we were all working 12-hour shifts to pull it and punch it. So
wow, that had to be fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some videos we did of the jobs because it's just you look at the cable bundles and the empty boxes, and you're just like 70,000 feet of cable.
That's a lot of cable.
70,000 foot boxes is what we had to buy. So,
wow,
that's how we know the amount because we added up. We bought 70,000 foot boxes. So.
And then 320 drops. That's that's nothing to sneeze at either. That's a lot of drops for Now was this one facility or?
2.
Okay, all right, very cool.
Yep, and we're bidding on 2 more of them to do. So.
That's great.
Now, the pay is good. We bid it high. I can't really see too high, but we bid it reasonably. I didn't undercut. I was like, they had no problem with it. They said, well, we like your work. So we've done some small work for them before, so they gave us this big job, and hopefully they're going to give us 2 more big jobs. And then I don't want to look at cabling for a little while.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
It was fun while it lasted. Can we move on to something else? Can I do a virus removal, please?
Yeah, exactly. It's and the guys we're short staffed at the shop, but so what I do then is I actually paused all my Google ads to try to see if I could slow down some of the work coming in. It's like 'cause I pulled the shop guys out to help label all the jacks. 'Cause everything's got to have nice printed labels on it because they're putting in a VoIP system with all new phones and everything. So it's like everything has to be perfect. But so 12 hours, 13 hours a day because fixing the computers here, and then we worked at the dealership some nights till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, wiring. Wow. So I'm happy. It's all done. It's just labeling now. So I just got 2 guys out there labeling. Everyone else is taking some days off.
Okay, no, that's cool. Good to know. Now, is your shop normally open on Sundays?
No.
Okay.
I come in on Sunday just to get updates done. We have several servers in the back. We host some things for some clients. I'll come in here. I can do it remotely, but it's quiet here. No one else. Keep the doors locked. Just finished up stuff.
Well, and it feels like work too, right? You start working from home and it starts blending.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get home and it's like there's too many things and distractions, and I don't really want to sit here. If I go to work, I focus a little bit better, get something done, and I leave.
That's a good point. I'm going to start shutting my door to this office a lot more often.
Just lock yourself in a room, just get something done.
I could put a lock on this door. I didn't think about that. No, everything's good here. I get kind of focused in my own little room here where I've got all my podcasting gear, all my closet, my fix-it closet, and my bench machine behind me and all that stuff. I just kind of roll my chair in a circle, and I'm happy.
Yeah, we also we shoot our YouTube videos on after hours, before hours, or on Sundays.
Okay.
Because if we try to do it during work hours, the phone rings, customers come in, or anything. So we make it look like we're open when we're doing it, but we're actually doing it off hours, so we don't have the phone ringing in the middle of a walkthrough.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's great. That's great. Very cool. A lot of interesting stories. So here's mine.
Uh-oh. Jeff, do you have something that you've been working on this week?
Yes. And hopefully this is going to help somebody out. I did a Windows 8 reinstall because a customer brought in a laptop with a bad hard drive. And normally, well, let's start from here. Normally you can go to Microsoft and you can actually download the OEM software now from the Microsoft website. And I'll put a link to the show notes for that. You can you can get a Windows 8, 8.1, Pro, regular, 64-bit, 32-bit, all that stuff, and I've got all the ISOs that I downloaded from the Microsoft website. The problem is, this was a particular person that bought a Dell computer. It was a Dell Inspiron 5520, and basically it came with Windows 7, and they bought the upgrade back when Windows 8 came out, which was like $40. And I didn't realize that until after talking to the customer and getting their email with the information on it. I go, oh, this is 8.1 or 8 Pro. And obviously they had 8.1 installed on their system. So the first thing I did was once I figured all that out, I took the OEM disk that I had already made up a long time ago because I did the same thing. I had the same upgrade on my system, and I basically went in and went to reinstall the operating system, and it came up and it said there's no driver to run this, and I'm like, this is the second time this has happened to me. So I already knew. Okay, I said, okay, I know what I got to do. So basically, what I had done is you can go to your OEM website, or you can go to, most of the time they're Intel drivers, and what they are is they're SATA drivers. And basically, what you have to do is once you download those from either the OEM website or the Intel website, you have to extract the F6 FLPY, and in my case, it was a -X64. And if you remember, back when we were installing Windows XP all the time, and SATA drivers were fairly new, when you were installing XP, you had to tap on the F6 when you were booting into the system, and then you had to take a floppy drive and plug in the floppy disk with basically the SATA driver to get it to recognize that drive. This is the same thing, except it's, I use a USB key to do it now. So when you're installing the system, whether you're using a disk or a USB key, you can plug in another USB key, but you have to have that file extracted outside of the zip file, obviously, so that the system can read it once you're partially booted in. And then basically you just hit it, it'll install the driver. And generally, once you do, I don't know what goes on with these systems, generally once you do it, even if you put the install disk back in, you don't actually have to install the driver anymore after that. Now, I don't know why that is, I'm not sure, but basically that'll get you to the point where you can install the system. But for anybody that has a customer that brings in something that's a Windows 7 machine, has a Windows 7 sticker on it, if it has Windows 8.1, you've got to find out what type of version. The OEM media from Microsoft will work for everything that came with Windows 8 or 8.1. And it doesn't matter, they're interchangeable now. But if they had bought an upgrade, you're going to have to install the Windows 8, whatever, and they were all Pro. It'll be Windows 8 Pro. Once you install that, you can go to the Microsoft Store and update it to the Windows 8.1. Once you get done with that, you can finish all your updates, and you're good to go. So that was one of those weeks where I was just like, this thing is ridiculous. It's all the little things you got to know about Windows 8 in order to get it installed. And so that's kind of what I was working on. But I will have there's a couple links I'll have in the show notes. One is about where to get the reset media, and the other is how to recover a Windows 8 key. Because the other thing is, when you're doing if you're using Magical Jelly Bean or Product or whatever to get the product key, what happens is because it's an OEM and because they come up with their own stuff once they update it, the product key will not be the same that person will have gotten in the email, and that's where it becomes hard, because you can use that product key to install it, but you won't be able to get it to verify, and that kind of sucks. So you've got to just be careful and pay attention to what you're actually getting, and then hopefully you can figure out what media you have to use. Hopefully now that all the systems are coming with Windows 8 or 8.1 natively, you shouldn't have this problem any longer, but for anybody that had those upgrades out there, you definitely might have to deal with that.
Yeah, they can be pretty tedious. We had to do the same thing, and it was hard to hunt down driver. I can't remember if it was an Acer or a Dell, but it's one of those thin Windows 8, full-blown Windows 8 tablets. And it's got a SSD hard drive that's like 128 gigs. That thing was a pain to reload because it only has one USB on there, and the touchscreen wasn't working right. It had a keyboard dock, and it was fine. We had to load the drivers to get it to load. I think we played with it for a couple hours before we hunted them down because it's buried in their website somewhere for the download link for that. So those can be tedious. And of course, we can't use any of our PXE. It throws that out the door. There's no RJ45.
Right.
So
that's true.
You're just kind of stuck trying to figure out how to make it work.
Now, I wonder, I know I've heard some techs out there that actually have used a USB RJ45 connector. Have you ever tried anything like that?
They won't, because of the there's a chip they need, and the BIOS, because it's a BIOS level support for PXE, that won't work, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
I wish it would, because it would solve some problems for me.
Right.
But maybe there's one I don't know about that does work, but at least the ones I've seen don't have the ability, because it needs, you actually have to turn it on in a BIOS on some of the laptops. So.
Okay. That's a good point. John, you ever dealt with anything like that?
I'm just kind of sitting here shaking my head, wondering why in 2014, 2015, there just can't be some low-level SATA driver that works on everything.
Yeah, it is amazing.
To that point.
This is the second time this has happened to me. And I remember the first, it was a long time ago, but I remember when it first happened, it was something I didn't expect. This machine was maybe 4 years old.
Yeah, and I'm with the same. I can remember, using the USB floppy drive to get Server 2003 installed on some boxes way back in the day, and you actually had to have a particular, like an IBM or I forget the other brand, USB floppy, or it wouldn't work with all USB floppies. We found out the hard way, or I found out the hard way.
I've had a couple late nights stuck on that exact problem.
And I can remember that, crap, I brought the wrong USB floppy, so I got to drive back to the office, or, So, at that point, you throw away the floppy that doesn't work just so you don't accidentally grab it again. But yeah, it just seems like there should be an easy solution to this, even on a laptop that's 4 years old. So maybe I'm just wishful thinking. I mean, obviously, I've been doing this long enough. I've got the scars to prove it. But
You're bringing up bad memories of Dell PERC RAID controllers on servers.
That's right.
Well, John, you were gracious enough to send me along some OEM discs from Dell for the, I think you had some Windows 7 Professional and also a Windows 8, 8.1, media disc. So I tried to use that disc, but I couldn't get I couldn't get any of the product keys to work. And so then what I was going to do was...
Was this a Dell laptop or a different laptop?
It was a Dell laptop, same laptop.
Really?
So what I was going to do is since it was a home edition, I was going to put Windows 7 back on there and then go ahead and do an upgrade before I figured out that I could do a clean install. But so what I did was I took one of those disks, I took the Windows 7 Pro, and I tried to change the ei.cfg key on it to make it a home edition or home premium.
Okay.
And it wouldn't, once I created the ISO, when I went to burn the ISO, it said this is not a legitimate ISO. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding. And I tried it several times. So I couldn't actually change it like I've done with, I have the plain Jane, vanilla OEM versions, where I have a Windows 7 disk that has all the versions on it for 64-bit, and then I have one for 32-bit. All the versions are on it because back on Windows 7, you could take the ei.cfg file out, and it would just open up everything. Because let's face it, on all these disks, all the bits are the same. All the bits are there. It's just what files are pointing to tell it what type of software it is.
Was this an Inspiron? Did you say is this an Inspiron or a Latitude?
It is.
Okay.
Inspiron, yeah.
So I'm wondering if they key those disks I sent you to, we do mostly the Latitude and Optiplex. I'm wondering somehow if they're BIOS keyed somehow.
It's hard to say. Usually I can figure out, once I change that, I can always get the key to take, but I couldn't even create the media to get to the home premium version. So maybe they have other files in there that I'm not aware of. So if somebody does know, let me know so I can, try to create those. Not that I'll need them a whole lot longer here, but it's nice to have that stuff. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. That was my week from
That's one of those big time suck things. It's just not that hard, but it's sucking all your time because you just got to find the right key for the right lock. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel your pain.
So, anyways, and then going back to the antivirus, we'll touch on that, and then we'll get into some emails. John, I know you mentioned antivirus, so I became a reseller for Bitdefender, Internet Security Suite, and so far, I have it on 3 machines. I've got it on my bench machine, on my machine, and on my son's machine, and I'm going to deploy it onto 3 of my other kids, their machines. And
so your test systems.
It's my test systems, yeah, because not that we don't get infections, but it will still. I want to see if they can play their games without it being a hindrance and all that kind of stuff to make sure that if I'm deploying it out to somebody, especially the younger kids or whatever that are playing games and doing things that are not going to block them from doing that. So it's a test case. But right now I like it. It runs really light for the most part, and it does a lot of things. I mean, it protects against phishing attacks. It's got the different web protection. It's got its own firewall and stuff like that. So it seems to be working really well. I will tell you though, it's when I went to get into Google Hangouts today, I don't know if it was this or if Google was having a problem or YouTube was having a problem, but I had to get out of, I turned some of the things off just to get to where I need, to get online. Now what's nice about it though is what I'll do after this is that you can create profiles. Yeah. And you can have it on autopilot, which when it knows you're doing a certain task, it will automatically switch to that profile. So I'm going to play around with creating profiles and see what I can do with that. But so far, the only other thing is obviously it messes with my tools, password cracker and mail pass view and all that kind of stuff. So you got to white label that stuff, but it kind of learns over time. So I've been playing with it for about a week now, and it seems to be fine.
Now, is there a web control panel for that? So if you install that, can you monitor all these installs and make changes from a web that'll push down?
You can. It's minimal monitoring. Yes, there is a web portal, so to speak. You can basically see if it's online. You know, basically if it's running, if it's been updated. You know, that type of thing. You can see whether it's working or if it's broken, type thing. And that's what I'm thinking about doing for my customers. I don't know what you guys do out there as far as I know using GFI and using the MAV on there. It's, you know, it works for you and you're monitoring that stuff anyways. But I'm looking at if I create a business web portal and I'm hooking people up and put them all under the same account, are people going to be okay with that? Because obviously if you look under the account name, you'll see, you know, obviously my email address, whether it be my business address or whatever. So not really sure what I'm going to do there, but it's kind of something I'm playing around with.
Same boat here. I think we're going to go with F-Secure. I looked at Phoronix. I looked at WebRoot. Looked at the Viper with GFI Max, and looked at F-Secure. Basically, you know, I watched some of Brytech videos. He reviews all that. You know, like you, I'm not a huge fan of A/B test, but you look at those. You know, and all the high-quality ones, Bitdefender being in that category, you know, they're all month-to-month pretty much rated the same.
Sure.
90+%, if not higher. But I like the control panel on the F-Secure, and it does just what we're talking about, where I can split up my license codes under separate companies, give a company a login so they can only see what's going on for their computers. So it gives me some control, and it has some RMM features in there as well, remote monitoring and management. To do Windows updates, you can push them up from that control panel, or kind of like a 9-night Lite, it will do Java and Adobe and some other things from the control panel. So I thought that was nice. And the price is right. So
yeah. That sounds like a nice feature on there, because I like Viper. We've sold a handful of them, but it doesn't give you much control. When it's through GFI, it's fine, but selling like independent licenses to like retail customers, it just doesn't have many features on it, and it doesn't. The way they resell it is kind of confusing. It doesn't have a nice, clear reseller control panel or portal that monitors things in a way. It's like they didn't put much effort into it when I looked at how the back end looks.
Okay.
So that's one reason I'm still exploring some other products. We're testing out Bitdefender, and like you said, Jeff, it seems to be a nice lightweight, but there's a couple annoyances. I'm concerned because it flags my website. That's
right.
Yeah, that's definitely high on the list of annoyances.
Well, you know, though, you can use your GFI control panel to install just the antivirus on someone's computer.
Yeah, we're doing that, and that works really well. We have a virus-free guarantee that we offer, and that's how we use it, is with the GFI. But some people, because they just want to buy something outright, and you know, Viper's got those really cheap 3-year and unlimited plans for like $50 that you can buy one for an unlimited license per computer. So some people just want to pay outright for that.
Okay. Yeah. Now, if you guys don't mind me asking, what's the cost on the Viper if you're just doing it using the GFI or even reselling it alone?
My pricing is very different from everybody else's. I'm actually not allowed to say.
That's why I was going to say, go ahead. They make us all sign an NDA before you do it. They have all kinds of, once we set your pricing, you're not supposed to share it, which I found odd, but nonetheless, I'll follow the rules.
Right.
I've got a lot of clients.
I guess that's not really what I was asking. What I want to know is, what do you charge your customers?
Oh. Okay, that's.
Yeah, I know what you pay for it, but yeah, what are you charging your customers, just as a ballpark figure?
We have, for our retail customers, we call it the virus-free guarantee, and we charge $100 a year for it.
Okay.
And, we just give them a guarantee from 1 year. We take care of it. If they have a virus or anything, they drop it off. We fix it for free. And
now, is that with just the GFI, or is that if you sell them an antivirus?
We sell them the GFI. We charge them, like, if they come in for a virus removal, which we flat rate $50 for virus removals, and then we add an extra $100 if they want to do that. So their total service to get that would be $150.
Okay.
We sell quite a few of them.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Wow, you do flat rate virus removals for $50?
Yep.
Huh.
Wow.
We fixed 2,100 computers last year.
Wow. That's a lot of computers.
We do a lot of volume, and you play the numbers game and it works good. There's times when you're killing it going, man, I want to punch this computer. I'm only making $50 and I'm 4 hours buried into it. You're going crazy. But then you have a lot of the easy ones that come through. But keeping the prices flat rate, I won't lie, I'm profitable.
Flat rate? I have no problem with flat rate virus removals. The number is what amazes me. Because, I mean, we're white label, and we do a lot of volume, and our virus removals are set at 60 because anything less than that just isn't worth the time.
There's a lot of competition. There's about 20 computer stores within 15 miles a year that are all charging, sometimes even less than that, which they've come and go. I watch them go out of business and things like that.
Yeah.
We've been in business 12 years, but we've just have capped it at this 50 for a while, and it works out, like I said, it's worked out to our favor.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And I'll be honest with you, so in my particular case, because I work a full-time job and I do computer repair part-time, and I had to be more selective about my customers, I moved my prices up from 50 to 89. And I still get enough customers coming in with the time that I'm allowed to be able to do those that it works out better. And quite honestly, you're in a storefront, so you're going to get a lot more volume. And if you're profitable doing that, that's great. I'm more the one-on-one or one-offs, where people are coming to me and bringing their stuff, or I'm remoting in, that type of thing. So, you got to use what works for you, and that's one of the things I figured out. I actually started making more money last year and getting more customers when I raised my prices. So,
no, that's we don't give it away on most things. We came up with the flat rate fix for that, but it brings in so many other repair jobs and sales and things like that. So overall, it works really well.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's a good point. Very good point. Yeah, because really and that's what I was doing too. I wanted to get people in the door, and then hopefully be able to fix some other things for them, which obviously are going to have a little bit higher rate than just a virus removal that you're touching. And let's face it, with the tools and stuff that we're using nowadays, you can get these virus removals down to next to no time at all on a lot of them. Now some of them are going to be a pain, like we all know, but some of them, like you said, they just fly through the shop, and you're like, okay, that's cool, And when you're doing volume, obviously you're not sitting there doing one at a time, Tom, right?
No.
You've got I've seen your benches, and they're full of computers all the time. So
we're knocking out 8 to 12 a day. So. Okay. And it's only got 2 techs generally are able to handle that volume, not a problem at all.
Gotcha. That's great. Great information. All right. Well, I think from there, unless anybody else has got anything else to add, I think we'll go in and we'll see how many emails we can get through here.
I'm still reeled at that price. Retail, we retail virus removals for $109.99. Because I wouldn't. I don't know. That $50 is really low, but we're in completely different areas, though.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I have other friends I talk to online, and they're blown away by the price, but they're also in a high rent district. They're in like my friend just in Oakland County. He charges way more than me, and there's not even a hesitation on the price. They're arguing with me about 50, like it's too much here where I'm at.
Right, and that's what I can't. Because I know that there are areas like that. I know that there are because I've spoken to people from those areas, but it blows my mind. And even the the unlimited virus removals, right? Because we'll do the GFI too, but I mean, our clients are selling that retail at 150 6 months, 250 a year, and that it's selling really well. So to hear you say, oh yeah, and then we add $100, so it's $150 for a year, and it's like, wow. I know that most of the businesses that I work with would probably not make any money if they did that.
I think Tom's got a good point there. I don't play in the consumer side very much. I'm 98% business. I don't have anything that's flat rate. I charge $140 no matter what I'm doing per hour, period. So.
Woo! Man, talk about high dollar.
Can't keep this haircut somehow.
Yeah, our business customers are completely separate. That's a whole nother game.
Right.
That's all on-site. Like he said, hourly rates are fixed on that. So we have about 400 businesses that we're the outside IT for. Like I said, schools and some of them. So that's a whole nother side of the business. And that's why we're not relying on just what comes in for the retail. We have all of our business. We have contracts. We have hosting. We have web hosting. We even host some servers for some clients. So there's a lot going on in this one building. So it's not like I'm trying to sustain it just off $50 virus removals,
Right.
which makes a difference because the store does pay for itself in its tax, but to have everything that I have, it's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
And you're getting your name out there for what you're doing in your area, which is, you know, obviously I would imagine a lot of the businesses that you came by were from maybe even just people walking in the shop.
Yes.
Said, oh yeah, he did a great job on his computer. Hey, check this guy out. You know, check Tom out. He does a great job. And you know, and that's when you're selling a brand, which obviously you are. You want to put yourself out there so that there are more lucrative deals that come down the pike. But sometimes when you're in an area, you've got to pull that you know, those customers in off the street. And you know, sometimes the way you have to do it is price. You know, so I definitely understand that.
And from what he's describing in your area, Tom, it just might be a loss leader. That's how you get them in the door, and
Yep.
you take good care of them, and you add on.
We actually started in the business market because I came from corporate IT and I started the company in 2003. So we kind of did it backwards. We had the business and had a lot of business clients, and I was always referring out the retails. I didn't want to deal with the retail side of it, and I said, you know, I think I'm referring away a lot of business. And so in 2007. I moved out of an office building and into a retail location, and I marketed because some of the clients we have 200 workers there. So we started handing out our cards with the owner's permission for our retail. So hey, if you want to use your computer fixed personally, so we brought a massive amount of business over that way. But the two feed each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at the businesses, we have like municipal contracts, and we got all the city employees coming here for their personal computer stuff, and vice versa. That's how we ended up with some of them was city employees coming to get your computer fixed, and they go, you know, we don't like the IT guy at our city. Can we want to talk? And you know, that led us to some of that.
Yeah.
And that's a great, you know, and a lot of people will say, you know, stick with one niche or another, but I think you're showing us a business that is actually using two different areas or two different, you know, sides of it, the business side and the residential side, and you've merged that together and you're making it work for yourself, and I think that's awesome.
I'm really happy with the way it's going. I'm, you know, like I said, we're doing well.
Awesome, very cool. All right, so I think now, Chris, can I move on to emails? Is that okay? Or do you have something else to say?
No.
Okay.
We don't read emails on this show, Jeff.
All right, well, I'm going to.
I'm going to jump out for 1 second. Be right back.
Okay.
Oh, see, now we can't read the emails.
All right, here we go.
I know everything. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So here's an email. It says, hey, Jeff, love the shows. I'm about to take the plunge into AdWords, hoping that you can send me your secrets. So I did send him my 380 keyword list for my Google AdWords. You guys do a great service to the community. I wish you every success. Like you have a full-time job. He's IT tech in the Canadian Army, and I only have 2 kids, so I can appreciate the juggling you must do to keeping a happy balance between work, business, and home life. All the best, Roland. Hey, thanks for the email, Roland. Appreciate that, and hope those keywords will help you out. Just take the ones where, you know, has anything about the U.S. out of it, you know, just FYI. Second email is Antivirus Resellers Program. I just listened to your Podnutz Daily number 414, and you mentioned antivirus reselling. Just to let you know, here in the UK, I am a reseller for ESET's products, mainly Smart Security 8 and NOD 32 version 8, and it works well for me. Also, I took on BullGuard as a backup, which also works well for me. Keep up the good work. Gary Schilling from GS Computers. Thank you, Gary, for the email. And, yeah, we just talked about some of the antiviruses that we are using in our business, so hopefully, even before that, I was already looking into it, but I appreciate the little kudos there and the help.
Did you say BullGuard for backup?
BullGuard.
BullGuard.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I've never heard of it, but there's a ton out there, kind of like remote support software. There's a ton, some we've never heard of, but they're out there. So.
We've been reselling iDrive for a number of years. It works. It's simple. I try to keep consistent. I always tell my clients I'll help them with whatever product they want, but we like iDrive because I know where all the buttons are. You know, it's easy to restore.
Right.
And I've been happy with it. I've never had a problem with the company.
Now, iDrive, is that anything? It's not Apple related or anything like that, is it?
It's repeat the question.
Is it Apple related, or is that just a separate company? They decided to call themselves iDrive.
Oh yeah, they've been around for a long time. They're an independent company.
Okay. Cool.
They actually, some of the nice features they have is full Exchange integration, full SQL Server backups. It's the one piece of software you install, and it's intelligent. It realizes, hey, I'm on a server, so it has all these other menus that come up to plug into things that it finds on there. But if you install it for a retail customer, it's the other way. It just has the more basic menus for backing up, and by default, it backs up their My Documents. So it's kind of idiot-proof install. Next, and then yes, it'll automatically grab everything under Documents and Pictures, and it's really inexpensive.
Okay. Very cool. What's the price on that?
I gotta look. I think right now they got a special for like a terabyte for $40 a year.
Wow.
They charge based on usage. They don't care how many computers. They care how much you use, which is a nice model because you can install it on 10 computers. Cumulatively, you buy how much storage you want, and then they parse it out, and then they can see in the account all the computers. It also has some Dropbox-like features. They can turn syncing on between computers if they want to sync a folder. It also does drive imaging, and it'll do local copies, so they can plug a USB drive in, so it does a cloud backup and a local backup on a USB drive, all integrated.
I've never heard of this company before, and it's like, is one of those deep dark secrets that we don't know about? I'm like, wow.
I think they just. I won't lie. I resell them because I like them, not because their commission's good. Their commission sucks, but as a product, I've always had trust in them. I think I've been 6 or 7 years, maybe longer, that I've been reselling it. It's just one of those products I like because it just works and it's reasonably priced. The other nice features are the way it, like I said, the syncing, the simplicity of it. When you look at the interface, they just got this really cool web interface, but they also are HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley, and I can't remember the other one. They're compliant with all of those. With us having law offices, medical offices, and municipal contracts, we have to have a company that's completely compatible with all the different laws.
Okay.
But they've been around a long time. I don't know why their names doesn't pop up more.
I mean, it's a great. Sounds like a great deal. I mean, I'm a Carbonite reseller.
Yeah.
And that's worked well for me for the amount I use it. But I was talking to my Carbonite rep just a couple days ago, and basically we're basically saying you're not going to make a whole lot of money selling backup, but what you're trying to do is protect your customer, and that way you're going to get other business from that also. So nobody's making a living off just selling backups.
Yeah. And you kind of feel the stress. I mean, we've got so many clients that don't back anything up that we tell them. And then you already know you're going to get that call when you feel that stress with them. And I don't want to say I told you so, but you just want to hit them.
Right.
You told them so.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, on iDrive, it's like an introductory rate. Not too scammy, but what they'll do is the first year is 40. Oh, next year it's 60, because I think that's their regular rate. So they always have discounts for new signups.
Okay.
I mean, it's not too bad. Even $60 a year is not bad for a terabyte.
No, it's not bad at all. It's unbelievable, actually. That's great. What about you guys for backup, John?
I'm a Carbonite guy like you.
Okay. And Chris, we know about your SOS backup, right? Now you're doing monitor backup though, right?
Yeah, so it's completely managed backup. So everything that comes into the dashboard, there's alerts if the backup doesn't happen, if the backup doesn't work. And we've actually now integrated the and now I can't remember the name of it. NGuard. We've pushed NGuard to all of our resellers as well now. So there's a lot more dashboard control of the backups without needing to actually remote into the computers. And that was a free upgrade that we provided everybody.
What's is NGuard part of GFI then?
No, NGuard is part of SOS.
Okay.
It was something that we didn't have in there because cost.
Gotcha. Okay.
But now that we have a big enough account, we were able to provide that to everybody at no cost, and it just gives you dashboard access to control their backup, so you don't have to remote in every time you need to make a change.
Okay. Awesome. Great. All right. Well, let me move on to another email here. What are we doing on time? All right. It says, "Hi, Jeff and gang. I was just asked by a friend if I could recover their photos from an Android micro SD card, specifically a Note 2, which just stopped working, and when the SD card was placed into another phone, the images were no longer accessible. His music library is intact, though." Yeah, that's not that important. The good news is he knew to stop using it immediately. The card, when plugged into my PC, sees the space is being used, but the folders appear empty. What program do you recommend? It's been years since I played with recovery software and never really found something I would trust 100%. So I wanted to make an image of the SD card, but my software doesn't seem to allow a USB device to be imaged, or I'm not using it correctly. Parted magic. I might try Macrium Reflect for imaging as well, but I don't think that it did USB drives either. There are 3 years of photos on his SD card and no other backups. Ugh. I am tempted to also get quotes locally since I don't specialize in this, and this drive has pictures of his father who just passed. Ugh. He doesn't exactly have the money for this, so I was hoping to do it for him for free. I would get the software since I would use it again anyways. Thanks, Anthony. Anthony, I appreciate the email. What do you guys use for SD cards when customers are bringing them in, or do you guys even deal with any of that?
Photo Rec from CG Security, their Testis suite. Hands down, I have recovered so many SD cards. I've had photographers format the cards and things like that. Wedding photographer, she lost everything because she just formatted a card on accident instead of ejecting it. I don't know what her thought process was with the Photo Rec software. She's done it twice.
Entire menu of choices there. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Format looks good.
I have had an excellent time with Photo Rec recovering ones from phones. I recovered one from a wet phone before I even popped it in there. It was unreadable, but Photo Rec walked it. I mean, they lose all the file names, but they get all their images back. It's been my go-to tool. I know there's a few other ones out there, but I rarely needed to go beyond Photo Rec to grab files back. But if there's something better, let me know.
No, that's one of the main ones that we've talked about in My Hard Drive Died. So with Scott Moulton, it's one of the ones he recommends, and they just work for Mac, Windows, Linux, whatever. It does what it needs to do. So no, that's a good one. Anybody else? Chris?
Nope. Look, here's my problem is that I don't specialize in data recovery whatsoever.
Okay.
And what gets me scared about a situation like that is that I don't want to learn on a customer's equipment, because if my father passed and the only pictures that I have were on this card, and I found out that the tech that was recovering it hadn't done it before and lost everything, I'd be calling my lawyer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but here's the situation a lot of people get into. It's like, yes, we can absolutely 100% guarantee we can get these photos back. It's going to be $800, sir. Or I can try to get the photos back. What do you want to do? And here's what you're going to find out most of the time. Most people are going to go, we'll go ahead and try because I'm not going to spend $800. Yeah, they're important, but they're apparently not that important.
Yeah.
They're not $800 worth of importance.
And that's fine. And if they're not willing to pay the money for it, it's just one of those situations where I don't want to be held responsible for those photos no longer being recoverable anymore. Right. If they later on decide, you know what, I really do want those photos, here's the $800. And like, oh, sorry, we can't recover this. It looks like somebody tried too many times.
And I think one of the things that if you listen to Scott will tell you what he always does in hard drive recovery day in and day out is he makes an image, and the way there's proper ways to make an image where you don't actually load the SD card, hard drive, or whatever into Windows. You don't let it do anything to it, and there's different ways of doing that. And you guys can go back and listen to My Hard Drive Died, the last episode 24, where we explain all that, but it's one of those things where you hook it into a system and using, Tom, you're probably familiar with this, using Ubuntu or some other Linux distro where you can go in. There's ways to change it so it's not going to read it, but you can absolutely still get a one-for-one image bit by bit. And once it does that, you have an image. You can mess with the image at that point and leave the other stuff intact so that if a customer does want to go back and do that, they absolutely can without you trying to mash on it and try to recover that stuff just by in whatever, if the hard drive or SD card is dying, then it's not worth anything at that point anyways.
I concur 100%. Exactly. I'm definitely not Scott Moulton when it comes to recovery, but if I know the problem with the drive, like the example in number 24 is the gentleman said he deleted the partition table, so with pretty good certainty that the drive is okay, so you just need a partition repair. Usually I'll throw something at it from runtime software called Get Data Back,
yep,
which does a really good job. pretty easy to use. But I totally concur with Chris. Depending on the value, whether sentimental or monetary value of the data on that drive and what's going on, send it to Scott or send it to your favorite repair guy that knows what he's doing.
Right.
Recovery guy.
Not to say that I'll never make an attempt. I mean, it's the difference between the company's secrets, and if I don't get this back, I'm done. Or these are the only photos that I have left of insert family member here.
Right.
I don't want to touch that. But hey, you know what? My homework from last week was on this stick, and it's gone. It would be really, really sucky if I had to rewrite all of this stuff. Could you try to get it back for me?
Sure.
Sure, I'll try that. Absolutely. Because there's no real value in that other than, hey, you're going to have to spend a couple hours redoing your project.
And I will tell you, so one of the I wrote him back, and I basically told him that I was using, I'm testing out a reclaimpro.m or reclaim.me.pro. And it's basically Reclaim Me has always been a RAID recovery program, but they also have a photo recovery program, and they're based in Russia, and a couple nice ladies out there and stuff. And they have where they do photo recovery, and she shows in a video basically all the photos are on a hard drive or on the SD card. She erases them, puts it in her program, and gets the photos back. And it's one of the other ones that Scott Moulton also recommends and says, yeah, they're excellent. When it comes to recovery using software, they do it right. So I sent him that information, and basically I told him about podcast. The My Hard Drive Died number 20. I think it was 23, and basically you can go back and listen to that. And so he sent me another email back, and he said, I tried Recuva with no luck, but found ESIS Data Recovery Wizard, which seemed to do the trick. Found 4,800 images. Wow.
Nice.
Many seem good. Yeah, exactly. I will let my friend go through each one for privacy reasons. There was a coupon code, so it came out to like $45 for the program. And I've used ESIS before with mixed results, and that could be because the data was so far gone it really didn't matter anyways. But it was one of those things where if somebody had a bunch of written work on there, yeah, if they lost it, it sucked, but the reality is it wasn't life-threatening or any type of sentimental value, so it didn't matter. And
I guess
go ahead.
I guess the core point of the whole discussion is don't practice on something that's precious to somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to learn data recovery, buy a bad drive or a bad laptop off of eBay and try to get the data off of that. Learn to do it, perfect your skill, and then move on to somebody's precious moments.
Well, and that's I've got a bunch of hard drives downstairs that I have to destroy, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and see. And some of them were not readable at all. The drive would spin up and it would run. I'm going to actually see if I can get an image or get any information just to see if it works, and I'll go from there.
I want to know your batting average when you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's because I want to figure out if I've got something that I can actually use in my business, or is it cost effective to do it this way, or whatever.
Yeah.
I
think that something that everybody should do if they want to start getting into data recovery is to partner up with a company that does like the clean room type deal. There's a company here in Markham, which is close to Toronto for those of you who know your Canadian geography, and they do clean room data recoveries. So for the most part, I'd be say, hey, here's your quote. I'm going to send it to these guys. But for those simple ones, if you want to deal with those in shop, that's great. But those ones where, hey, I'm not taking the platters apart. There's no way, right? So I'm going to send all of those to somebody else to have them deal with it if it comes down to that.
We outsource that too. If it's coming in clicking, I package it up. We tell them the prices for it and see if they want to do it. I don't even attempt to physically open a drive.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
No,
I agree.
One of the things I'm going to do down the road is Scott Moulton actually has a course that you can take, and it's quite costly, but it's where he gives you the tools, physical and software-wise, and you can basically pull a hard drive apart, replace it with some other parts. He's got a fork that basically holds the platters in place, because if those platters are out of alignment by a micrometer, you're toast. It's done. It won't be able to read the data. So, but he shows you how to do it, and it's definitely doable. And I just want to do it because it always seems interesting to me to be able to learn how to do stuff like that. So
Jeff likes to get his hands into things.
yes, I like to touch things.
Yeah. So hold on. So his class includes the class, the actual teaching part of it, as well as the equipment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ah.
That's neat.
Yep.
Yeah.
He does-
No, that'll be a
great.
good deal.
Yeah, and he does it. You can do it where it's like an online class, or you can do it. He does several physical locations across the United States and Australia if you're ever there, and he'll actually teach a class where he's actually there. So there's different ways you can do it. Obviously, the online class is going to be a little bit cheaper, not much, but enough that if you wanted to do it, he's going to send you the tools and the videos, and you can basically go through the class with them and learn how to do that stuff. So, but anyway, so. One of the things I wrote back to Anthony is I said make sure once once you got them backed up and he replaces the card, and use either Google Photo Backup on Android, which is free. You just basically got to turn it on so your photos are backed up on your phone, or Dropbox, which is also free for a certain amount of space. And it's what I do to get my pictures to the computer instantaneously so that I can back them up there. But definitely set him up with something where he doesn't run into this problem again. You have to. There's so many for stuff like that. There's so many free ways to back that stuff up to at least have some sort of backup. It's just like help your friends out, people, and grab their phone and go, hey, are you backing these things up? And just hit the little button and turn it on.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also backup software that works on Android, right? And I'm going to say that SOS does work on Android devices. As well as iPhones. So if you're already selling them a backup solution, take a look into the solution, see if there's an app for the phone, because if there is, that would be perfect to just roll that back up into everything else.
Right.
No, that's a really good point. I try even with my friends to have them all turn on at least the Google Auto Backup for their photos, because that's mostly what ends up on the phone that the consumers are worried about losing. But just check that little box. It's Google gives you unlimited storage on there. As long as you're not uploading the full resolution ones, you have unlimited with them. So there's no reason not to check it.
Right. Exactly. No, that's a good point. Very good point. All right. So he also says he sent me another email back. He said regarding the recovery process, he goes, I'm under the impression from past experience and hearing from others that it is normal not to get everything back. I have to say it seems like at least 90% of his images were recovered. Is this normal for a storage device that was not used since the content got lost? It was not deleted, but seems like the file locations got corrupt when the phone died. I told him anything recovered is better than nothing, but I wasn't expecting such a successful scan. And I basically wrote him back and said two things happen with data. If on an area of the drive if an area of the drive is dead, or you have a bit that's not, basically not lighting up, you won't be able to read that data anyways. And when a bit or when a portion on the drive dies, it tries to move that information to another portion of the disk, but if the disk is already full, it'll stop doing that, and so you might have either it'll be messed up there, or it's corrupted at some point, and you're only getting a partial portion of what it can tell you that the image actually is, so it can't point to the whole thing and rebuild it. So I told him, I said 90% for an inexpensive solution is pretty good. So for sure, $45,
Heck yeah.
But so, anyways, I think we'll kind of end off there. I've got a couple more emails, but we'll bring those next week, and we'll continue on with that. Does anybody have any parting wisdom for anybody out there to help them along in their computer repair business?
Nope.
Chris, Chris, you have nothing to say. Come on now.
You know what? I have plenty to say, but we never have time for me to just go off on my rants. So, best thing that I'd say, work within your comfort level, but make sure that you're constantly training yourself on new things. Data recovery is something that would be great to get into. MyHardDriveDive.com My Hard Drive Died is actually one of the podcasts that I've started listening to when I find spare time somehow, because I'd love to learn more about data recovery and how to deal with those types of things. Just like I was saying, don't learn on customer equipment. Go buy some stuff on eBay. Go get yourself some practice, and once you've gotten yourself to the point where you're comfortable with it, you can start making a lot of money with your extra skills.
Yep, good points. John?
Wise info. I'm just going to stay dressed when I ride the subway and keep on going.
That's always good advice. I wonder where you heard that from.
What does that mean? Okay, I'm confused. You're stay dressed when you ride the subway.
You don't
were on the
remember that.
show. You were on the show, Jeff.
Yes, Jeff, come on. You're
I
getting
don't
show
remember.
fatigue, buddy. You're getting show fatigue.
Yep, I am. Listen. I'm just the host. I don't really pay attention to what you guys say.
He's not actually listening to anything that we're saying. He's just sitting there and looking pretty.
I think I almost swerved off the road when you said that, Chris.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I remember. Chris says so many weird things off to the side that I don't even pay attention to anymore. It's not.
That's great.
Put clothes on when you ride the subway.
No. The exact tip was not to go to the subway naked.
Oh,
That's right.
Okay. Don't go to the subway naked.
Yes,
What were we talking about? Backup or something?
Virus. No, because then you won't get a virus.
That's right.
Oh,
You won't
yeah.
get sick.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. Yeah. Great.
Which is
You know what? It
sage
made a lot more
advice for-
sense in context, Jeff.
Oh,
Start paying attention during the
I
show.
totally forgot about that. Yeah, okay. I remember now.
Now I know why I got invited back, because you must not listen.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, Tom, any parting wisdom?
What's really worked well for us with our retail people is showing them their web history. It's been one of those things, so they always come in, I didn't download anything, and it's always been fun to show people. I like when they tell you, I always ask them first, I learned this the hard way, do you want me to pull up your web history? If they pause, they sometimes will say, no, just go ahead and remove whatever's in there. Other times you show them and you're like, okay, downloaded this. I got to do some more videos on it, but I showed like how you can type in Canon print drivers, and there's these bad websites. They look exactly like Canon's website. It even has all the choosers and the pull-down menus for the different Canon printers in the whole entire list. But no matter what you do, it downloads the same virus or scamware and things like that. But showing people that they got scammed, there's been a fake Google Chrome. And I've only found it once, and I got to do a video of it. But it's funny, people think they download but it said Google Chrome. Like, no, it wasn't Google Chrome. It was something completely fake. Showing them the history, but there's some people they know it's in their history, and they don't even want you to show it. So first,
Hey, Tom,
are you at the front counter?
Tom, you using any sort of special software to show them their history, or are you just doing a little dump of the log?
I'll just dump it along because most of the time they weren't trying to cover anything up, so they didn't clear their history. As soon as you just go to Chrome and just Control H and pull up the history, right there's all the websites. And then of course you go in the downloads folder. One guy admitted he came in, he was trying to find free Minecraft, and that was his search history was searching for free Minecraft, which led him to freeminecraft.exe, and of course then brought him to our store.
Dude, just pay the $26 for crying out loud, please.
That's what I told him. I said, you're going to spend more fixing this virus now than you could have bought Minecraft for. And he goes,
Exactly.
I'm going to kick myself now. Because I said, yeah, if you pay me, you still got to buy Minecraft for your son.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Tom, where can people find you at?
I'm found at lawrencesystems.com or facebook.com/PCPickup. There's also links to my personal Facebook. If you Google my name, Thomas Lawrence, I'm a pretty easy guy to find. I do some public speaking here and there and talk at events on social media and things like that. So I'm a pretty easy guy to get a hold of. Easily start with my website, message me. I'm online pretty much almost 24/7. Drives my wife crazy, but I'm replying. I was just replying at 1 in the morning. A lady messaged me on Facebook with a computer problem through our business page, and I'm like replying to her. Everybody's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. She's got a question. I don't know. The phone went off." It's like compulsive. I have to reply.
Right.
Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's my other text, but I just sign my name at the bottom of it. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming out on the show and sharing with us today. It was
I appreciate being on the show. Thank you very much.
No problem. And John, where can people find you at?
You can help me down at mavengroup.net. That'll take you over to LinkedIn or G+, wherever I'm at.
Very cool. And thanks for coming out today. Appreciate it.
Good times. Thank you very much.
And Chris, go ahead and let us know what you're up to and where people can find you.
Well, if you don't find me on the subway, you can get us at our website. See, you didn't laugh until like a minute after. So you can go to our website, www.rstechteam.com. You can email us, info@rstechteam.com, or you can give me a call. Phone number here is 866-568-2813. Just for anybody who doesn't know, we are a remote support tech team, and we do white label services for IT companies. So give us a call.
Very cool. And thanks for coming out today, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff.
No problem. All right, you guys can also find me on the Google Plus at Jeffery Halash or Twitter at TechNutPC. And if you're a computer repair tech and would like to be a guest on Podnutz Daily, the other show that I do, please email me at podnutzdaily@podnutz.com. And if you'd like to feature your product or service on this show, please email me at podnutz@podnutz.com. You guys can also leave us a voicemail at 1-888-697-0162. If you guys could do us a favor, leave us a rating and review over on iTunes. We would definitely appreciate that. You guys can also help support the Podnutz Network. The next time you're shopping at Amazon, go to podnutz.com/Amazon. And I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast. Another great show. Appreciate it.
I have to run.
Okay.
We're 7 minutes over where I wanted to be.
All right, Chris. Hey, appreciate it, and we'll if I don't talk to you before then, we'll see you next week, bud.
Go take the subway.
Great.
Yeah, stay off the subway,
seeing you guys.
See you, bud.
Bye.
Very cool. We are still broadcasting, just so you guys know, for whatever reason. But anyways.
Trim it up later.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to that Dell CD really quick.
Yeah.
I have the same problem that we cannot duplicate those CDs either. I cannot even do a raw dump duplication of it and get a good working copy. Yeah. So they must add some bit overrun or something to protect that.
There's got to be something in there, but if you can dump the disk, you should be able to find whatever it is. I haven't had time to research it enough.
Are you taking like a raw ISO of the disk, put it on your computer, and then do it? Yeah, I haven't had any luck doing that either. So when you find the magic, if I could be the first to know,
it's got to be a file because everything that points the disk to what type of disk it is the ei.cfg file. It's still true today, even in Windows 8. It was true in, I believe, Windows Vista. I'm not sure, but I can't remember about XP. But just changing that file where I can change it to it's basically an OEM, retail, or volume license, and you change the type. And this is how I've gotten Windows 8 to install on some machines before, is I basically changed the type to whatever it was. Core, which is Windows 8 is now, or Pro. X64. I don't think, it's retail, OEM, Pro, and Core are the only things that I actually change in there. And once you change that and then make the ISO on a USB stick or a disk, you can go in and you can put the product key that you have from that machine, and it'll take it and it'll authenticate it and it'll work. So
now, is it my understanding with Windows 10, from what I've been reading, that we're going to end up with even more versions now, besides just the home and all that?
You know what? It seems everybody complains that every version now. Okay, so when you're talking about versions, you have to go back and look at when you go back to Windows XP, or even actually any of them really. You've got the the N version. You've got the which is I can't remember. It's somewhere overseas, Netherlands or something like that. But there's certain regions that basically they code their stuff with. Korea, I think Korea is another one, and because they do some different things in there, or don't allow certain things like media player to be installed.
And the browser wars in the European countries where you had to have the browser select when it booted up. Yes.
Exactly. So,
but I'm just talking about here in the States. Like right now, let's just pick on Windows 7. So we have Home. No.
Well, you have Starter, Home, Premium,
Pro,
and
then Ultimate.
And then Ultimate, that's it. So Windows 8 actually really, from my understanding, has only cut it down to 2. You have Core and Pro, that's it. Now you still, and I don't understand this, you still have 64-bit and 32-bit. Why are we still doing 32-bit? Does anybody know?
Legacy support applications. We had to reload one time a client. They're running some proprietary software. They could run Windows 8 as long as it was 32-bit. And the same policy with Windows 7. They had to keep 32-bit. Their enterprise software that they ran at their company required it. It was weird, but I'm hoping with Windows 10 we can just make 32-bit go away, though. Let's get on one.
Yeah, that's a great question. Has anybody heard about that? Is there going to be a 32-bit 10? Not that I'm missing it, but I'd like it to be gone too. I'm with you, Tom.
Yeah, one platform.
If I remember correctly, and I haven't been there in a while because I downloaded mine a long time ago when it first came out, but I believe you could download either 32-bit or 64-bit. I believe. I'll have to look at the link of that. I'm not really sure.
And we'll have to see if, by the time it comes to release, whether or not they'll even keep supporting it. Because I think even all their Windows Phone ones are all going to be 64-bit.
Right, which on a Windows Phone or any phone or small tablet makes absolutely no sense, because has anybody seen anything with over 4 gigs of RAM in it yet?
Not with an ARM processor, I don't think.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like, what do you 1, 2, 3? I guess we're getting close.
I think there's a couple out there that do have 4. I know there's a bunch that have 3. A couple of the Sonys and the OnePlus One and all that, but I don't think there is a Windows Phone that has 3. Is there?
No, because they don't need it to run their operating system the way they're running it. So it's very light, apparently.
Yeah, I've not done much with Windows Phone, but from my friends that have it, it seems to be very lightweight. The phones are actually lesser spec than some of the Android ones, but when you use them, they're fluid, they're nice. I was shocked at how well Windows Phone worked. Not enough for me to go Windows Phone and get one. I'm going to stick with my Android, but overall I'm impressed for the hardware specs not being, like my Note 4, but it ran really fluid, and it's not, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Windows Phone's the best of them all that I'll never use.
I know. Yeah. Well, everybody's always heard the story. I've told this story I don't know how many times. I loved my Microsoft Zoom, both versions, the hard drive version and the Zoom, the touch version. And to me, it was so much more intuitive than an iPod ever was. I just can't understand. To me, it was a superior operating system, and that's how I discovered podcasts. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't understand how people actually discover podcasts on iTunes still today. It sucks so badly. It's ridiculous. Try to find a podcast on iTunes if you don't really know what a podcast is, and you get kind of confused between, hey, am I looking at music? What am I looking at? What is this?
Do you think they hide them so that they sell their paid media?
Probably. I don't know. Yeah.
And are you storing you got your Zune stored back there by your Betamax in the closet?
No, I gave it to my kids. No, I kind of move on from that stuff. I'm not using it anymore, because here's the beautiful thing is now with the phones and the amount of storage you can have on a phone, now I can have my whole, my 40 gigs of music on there. I can have my, 30 gigs of podcasts, my, all this stuff that I have, my, 50 gigs of pictures or whatever. And everything I can have right on my phone. Now, I will tell you, though, the phone is great because if you have the phone, you can take a picture, right? And your pictures are only as good as the device you have. But the reality is they are still relatively slow compared to even a point-and-shoot or even, like even a higher-end DSLR. And it's like there are times when I've gone to certain places where I wish I would have had at least a point-and-shoot because I've had my because of Wi-Fi or whatever, I've had my camera, my camera phone lock up on me. And it's like, are you serious? Whereas if I would have had a point and shoot, it's just, hey, point and shoot, and I'll download the pictures later, no big deal. But
yeah, you got to tip your hat to the iPhone in that respect as far as photos. I mean, they've got that down. Not to drive the bus in another place, but you mentioned go rate us on iTunes, meaning Podnutz podcasts, all of them.
Yes.
Is there a place to do that that's not iTunes?
No.
Yeah.
I know.
You think somebody like Shifty Jelly or somebody would try to do that just to get visitors or something?
My understanding is Stitcher actually has some sort of way, some sort of, rating and stuff too. But I loaded Stitcher the other night on my Android phone or on my tablet, and I can't figure out where the ratings and reviews are. So it's kind of like. So I tell people iTunes, I've always loaded up iTunes just for that specific purpose. Because it's still, so when you're talking about podcasts, the number one place it's still coming from, even if you're using Android or whatever, all the data and stuff like that is still a lot of times coming through the hooks in iTunes. So when you rate stuff up on iTunes and it comes up higher, and then that pushes to the other systems, and I don't know what the best solution for that is, but I've always downloaded iTunes myself just to run. I mean, Tom, like you say, hey, run a virtual box.
Yeah.
Run iTunes up, do your stuff there, and it's not that big a deal. If you really care about it, but I would say that probably the number one place nowadays that people are finding podcasts are probably through well, I don't know if I want to say through iTunes, because there's a lot of other, I don't know. Some of the Android stuff some are better than others.
Well, even the business leaders I deal with or business owners I deal with, a subject will come up and I say, hey, there's a podcast about that, and then you get that look like,
what is that?
Where? Exactly. And, some of them really take to it. Oh, you mean I can this is free? I can just put this on my, let's do it on my. Yeah.
Well, like this show here. I mean, it's this is a niche. Let's face it, computer repair. But there are a lot of people out there that are interested in listening to business owners, computer techs talk about what they do on a regular basis and kind of answer questions. And we don't have all the answers, obviously, but we're all kind of learning and doing things. Hopefully expanding our knowledge and making ourselves better.
Just like Tom says, he's got 20 guys right around him. There's a ton of us. Yeah. And you can tell just by all the tools they sell for us that there's got to be a lot of us around. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so much for us to buy.
True. Yeah,
I use a Podkicker on Android, and it works really well. It's got the subscription list. I've turned a lot of people onto it, because I got a lot of people out on Android If they're on iPhone, no problem, just iTunes and download. Sure. But I've turned on a lot of other business owners, and they go, really, you can just listen to this. I'm like, yeah, you just load this Podkicker. It's free if you want the premium version. It's one-time $4 purchase on the App Store. But there's so much good stuff on there. I mean, I love a lot of the stuff from the Twit Network. Leo Laporte does a great job, and Steve Gibson on security. But, they've got some good talks on there, like Marketing Mavericks and things like that. There's even a law one I turned a lawyer onto, and he's just like, man, this is some good stuff. I'm like, yeah.
I'm using Pocket Casts. I know Door doesn't like that because they aggregate and then download, so you don't get the counts.
Well, most of them aggregate, though. I don't know. Yeah. There's very few and far between that don't aggregate, and that's again, it's obviously that's a bandwidth cost, right?
Right.
And let's face it, a lot of these are either very, very inexpensive, like between $3 and $5, or they're free. And so I'm not going to pay for bandwidth, especially if I'm offering something that's free. I've used Dogcatcher, which was fine. I use Pocket Cast now because, to be honest with you, okay, this is kind of vain. Pocket Cast is pretty.
I agree. Have you used their web interface where you can play all your and it syncs with what's on your phone?
No, I heard you were going to do that, but I've never seen anything on it. Are you kidding?
I got in on the beta way back when. And
is it live now?
I don't know if it's live for new users. It's play.pocketcast.com.
Okay, I'll definitely check that out. Wow.
And it's kind of cool because then you can just hit a tab on your browser, listen to your podcast, and the next time you sync up with your phone, it's kind of like Audible. It remembers where you're at and removes the podcasts you've listened to, that sort of thing.
That's a nice feature. I like one of the things I like about Podkicker is they got Chromecast support. They were early adopters of that, and I've got 3 Chromecasts at my house, so wherever I'm at, I just hit my phone, press a button, and send it there. While I'm at home, just listening to it.
So I use my phone predominantly because it's the device that's always with me, or especially when I'm at work. It's what I have. It's on my tablet, and everything kind of syncs together. But I lay my phone down, and I always buy a case that kind of what it does for the speaker is it kind of creates this little like tunnel. So when I lay it flat on my desk with the speaker straight down, that amplifies it against any hard surface. So I can be sitting in my office or at the kitchen table or whatever, and it just plays, and I can hear it anywhere pretty much, within 10, 15 feet or so. But it's on my tablet. I just my tablet doesn't have a whole lot of room storage on it. It's only got 32 gigs, so I don't really download anything from there, but I'll stream from there sometimes. In Pocket Cast, as far as syncing between the two, works great. I've never had a problem with that.
Do you listen to, on the Twit Network, what is it, the Android show, All About Android?
Sometimes.
Well, they had, I can't remember his name, from Shifty Jelly, the developer out there, and I guess there's a material design coming, and this web interface is supposed to get rolled out to the public here soon, is what he was saying, first quarter or something like that.
See, when I go to play.podcast, so it takes me to shiftyjelly.com, I don't really see...
Yeah, it might not be open. Let me see. Let me hit it when I'm not logged in.
Man, John, I wish I had known you before, because I was looking for this feature because, quite honestly, as much as I'm on my computer, this would have actually been kind of nice because the other thing I have to do all the time is keep my phone plugged in. So when I'm at work, it doesn't, my 10-hour shifts, it doesn't die.
Play.pocketcasts.com.
Play,
Is that what we did?
Yeah, play.pocket. It took me to Shifty Jelly. Yeah.
You're right, though. This Pocket Cast is much prettier than Podkicker.
Now, Tom,
that interface looks a lot nicer.
So it doesn't say on there, play all your podcasts right here in the browser, available anytime, anywhere?
No, I don't see that.
Here, let me put the link in the
all right, yeah, do that.
chat.
Tom, what shows do you listen to besides Twit and...
Besides the Twit, let me pull up the list. It's easier. See, we got...
Oh, yeah, let's compare lists.
Compare
lists.
Like
that.
Yeah, there we go.
I got The Nerdist, Star Talk Radio. I'm a big fan of... I'm a big Redditor, so upvoted by Reddit.
Star Talk Radio? Good. Go slow. What's Star Talk Radio?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Triangulation is one of them on the Twit network where he interviews tech entrepreneurs. Leo Laporte does. That's really nice. You Are Not So Smart. The guy wrote a really good book on psychology. Fascinating. Weird little stories and little... one of them you can look up that he put together was called The Three Jesuses of Ypsilanti, where there was a psychology experiment where 3 people were convinced they were Jesus, so the psychologists got together and put them all in the same room and say, let's see what happens if they all are convinced they're the same person. Wow. But it's little things like that, and it becomes, it's nice off from my tech stuff. Ear Biscuits with Rhett and Link. If you don't know who Rhett and Link are, look them up. They're famous internet guys, big YouTubers, and you may have ever seen the Chuck Testa video. They were behind that.
Okay.
They did a lot of viral videos.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what's on my list here. And Security Now, of course.
Gotcha.
Let's see. You guys might like Tips from the Server Room. Have you listened to that? He does a nice little show. It's all about server-based.
I haven't seen that one. Ooh.
I listen to a podcast called Latest in Paleo. It's not all about the paleo diet, but it's more about food and health and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Obviously, everything on the Podnutz network, of course. I listen to Mike Smith, Tech Vets, Tech Show, Force Field. He's had a couple shows recently with Bryce from Technibble. Has been on there recently.
Has he? I think I might have actually taken that one off because there was just such a hiatus, and I kind of
he sort of faded there for a while, but I don't know. He seems to be back with a vengeance. There's been 2 shows maybe over the last month, so. Okay,
I'll load that back in. Very good. Good to know.
A fun little one, probably that goes in line with a lot of the ones you mentioned, Tom. Is have you ever listened to Skeptoid? They're little 50-minute podcasts that might. Like one's called The Myths of Alcatraz. They debunk myths and talk about myths. It's just like 15 minutes about something that you never actually considered. Like the last one I listened to was The Stone Spheres of Costa Rica, which I never knew, but now I know all more about it than I ever wanted to know. What the Tech with Paul Thurrott. That's pretty good if you want to keep up the Windows side of the house.
Windows Weekly. The Google one, This Week in Google, Windows Weekly.
How about
social
Run As
media.
Radio? You listen to Run As Radio?
No.
You'd like that one too. Richard Campbell gets on there, and it's all Microsoft server-based stuff like threat modeling, web performance, PowerShell, all this stuff. And he limits the podcast to 30 minutes, so it's a nice nugget of heavy 30 minutes.
I like that when they condense the information. One of the things I listen to, like Security Now, Steve Gibson does not talk fast, so I play all the podcasts back at 2.6. So it becomes a half-hour show.
That's right.
Actually, I'm up to, on all my podcasts, I'm up to 1.7 now.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm like at 1.2, 1.3.
I started off at 1.5, and that seemed a little fast, and then after a while, it became so normalized that I bumped it up a couple to, and right now it's just a tad bit fast, but for most shows, like 90% of the shows I listen to, everybody just seems to talk real slow, so it just works.
Yeah, once you get used to listening to them fast, you don't want to slow the pace down. They do the same thing with audiobooks. You want to keep them moving.
I just finished Mark Ravinovich.
Ravinovich?
Thanks. His 3 books. Have you listened to those or read
No.
those? Oh, you guys, right up our alley.
Oh,
Great.
really? Okay.
And they actually would probably be good reads for like a business owner or something, because a lot of the computer stuff or the hacking and stuff that happens is pretty realistic. And then it's wrapped up in like a James Bond story.
Okay.
You know, and throw a beautiful woman in there too. So yeah, they're good reads, easy.
Gotcha.
He's the guy that works for Microsoft and is a writer too, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I know who he is.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, he's
His
done
books
some
are on my
stuff.
list. I haven't downloaded them yet though.
Yeah, he's the creator of all these sysinternal tools, which I use
Yeah.
probably about half of them. So.
Did you see auto runs just got updated?
What do you mean?
The latest version of auto runs, you know, that shows you everything that starts when your PC starts and all your tasks and everything to run. It's got a cool new feature now where you can right-click on an entry and say send a virus total, and then it reports back right next to that entry if virus total found anything, whether it thinks that entry is negative or not.
Yeah, that's been in there. Where you been?
Oh, that's just got released in 13, according to the log.
I don't know when it got released, but it was the first when I was using.
I know you could submit it, but did it always come back and tell you like the count, like 0 out of 60 next to it, or 0?
So when Process Explorer, and he did this back last year, when Process Explorer, he put that in there where you could actually add that view for the virus total. I believe that's when it went in auto runs too. I could be wrong.
I thought that just got. I know I don't use Process Explorer that often, but I use auto runs all the time, and I thought that just got added to auto runs. But like I said,
maybe it did. Maybe I mean, those tools are so similar. I'll have auto runs run, but a lot of times I go into Process Explorer just to watch it for, like 45 seconds to see if anything's like launching and shutting down, or whatever. It gives me a great overview. Both tools are great for great overviews of what is going on in the background. I love it.
So in Process Explorer, you can right-click on an item and choose check virus total?
Actually, mine automatically does it. I have it set up to that view tab automatically comes up. So when I launch Process Explorer, it goes out to virus total, checks it, boom, brings it back. So I can look at my whole list of, and if I see anything in the red, anything that's, been sought after or whatever, I go click on it and see who tagged it, and it's usually some third-party, I don't know, antivirus vendor I've never heard of.
Yeah, basically what this one does, or at least the new feature in this, is it creates another column called virus total, and when you send it now, it shows you the count, 0 out of what it put it against. So, yeah,
right.
Okay.
And
all right, I'm bringing
blue.
old news. I'm just gonna.
No,
I'm gonna mute myself now.
It's actually good because I had just thought that they both got updated at the same time, but I was starting to use Process Explorer a lot more than I was using auto runs. So
see, I'm doing just the opposite because I use auto runs as my cleanup to, delete 40 things out of the login and task manager and services
Right.
and so.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
Are you using RepairTech now?
Partially. I use D7.2 and I
D7?
use RepairTech. Yeah.
So you're using both of them.
Yeah.
Tom, do you guys use D7 or RepairTech?
We're considering using D7. I was looking at the new version you wrote, and it looks pretty slick. We're playing around with it a little bit. He's been getting online quite a bit, and I've been doing a hangout with him. But I think I might be sold on that product. So I've talked to enough people that says you really should use it. Automating things because of the volume of business we do is definitely going to help me a lot. So I'm really considering it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like D7.2 is a little more. It's a great tool that you can customize to your heart's content, which I've spent time doing. The RepairTech stuff I like too. It's a little more dead simple automated. Like I literally could hand it to a tech and go, here, plug this in, hit this button, and then when you get done, when you log into Windows, here, double click on this exe and run XYZ format or whatever in or have it just automatically load to the normal tools. Hit run, and a tech could basically go through that and get that stuff going just like that. But there's other features I like in D7.2 that you can get to because I have it customized the way I want it, and so it works for me. So it all depends on what type of stuff you're doing. I'll be honest with you. I took Ken Dwight's the Virus Doctor. I took his virus removal course, and I literally am down to about 2 scans I'm doing on a system. Everything else is automated and or manually done, and it's taking me, that portion's like less than 15 minutes.
I like the concept of manually doing it. It's hard for me to let go, so I've trained all my techs that way. They do that way. They're jumping in or using auto runs or looking in registry keys. They're looking at, and I don't know, I like that edge. I don't know that I want them to be too automated. That's actually what's got me holding back, is that. Because they have a written manual process, do this, do this. Then at the end of it, we always set them to OpenDNS. I got a batch file that sets OpenDNS, copies our shortcut to our remote support on our desktop. Like everything's, we have our own internal scripting that we've done for some of that, and it's like, I know I could integrate all that into there, but I don't want my guys to lose that edge and become just kind of button clickers.
I think
they might miss something.
Jeff,
Yeah,
are you falling back on the manufacturer scans just to make sure? So you feel you're manually cleaning, getting a PC clean on your own, and then maybe falling back on that just to give it a second opinion?
Not always.
Okay.
Because quite honestly, once I took his course and figured out that there's only so many places that you're, and when I talk about so many places, there's 200 registry keys literally where malware and viruses can reside and do reside on a regular basis. And it's been like that for a long time. Once I started figuring out where I could actually look at manually, I got away from just doing the scan. I'm going to scan with this tool, I'm going to scan with that tool, I'm going to scan with this tool. And he has a manual operation where you can use a batch file and go through those keys separately, probably something similar to what Tom's doing, so I can actually physically look at them. There is also something in the repair or Tech USB, Tech Waru, which is called Registry Investigator, which does that automatically. And it will actually change entries and stuff like that. So it gives you a quicker overview, and then you can go in and manually do that. But so here's what I've started figuring out, and I'm going to bring this up I know we're still live on the air, but I am going to bring this up on one of the episodes, is that I felt like over the years I've used scanners to do my cleanups, and what I would tell my customers is when they bring a computer to me, they'd say, "Hey, can you do this? And can you bring your USB stick to my house and do it?" And I'd say, "No." I said, because I do anywhere between 6 and 12 hours worth of scans, which is true, absolutely true. Viper Rescue was one of my go-to tools. I used to remote in using remote in the safe mode, run Viper Rescue. That would take like 6 hours itself, but it found a lot of stuff. It got rid of the stuff. I was able to get in the machine, and this was before a lot of the FBI viruses and stuff like that. So I would get in there, and then I'd finish up with the malware, byte, super anti spyware, Hitman Pro, yada yada yada. And because of the way I was doing it, my machines were very, very clean, and I did not see that person for a whole nother year. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it was. So it was fine, but it was also taking me a whole lot more time. Even though it's not time on keyboard, it was taking me a whole lot more time to do that. And I was like, wait a minute. So as I kept doing that and kind of refining my process, started using things like D72, part manual, part automated, or Tech USB. I started looking at all the scans I was running, and were coming back with absolutely nothing after I ran my main scans. I'm like, wait a minute. Am I wasting a lot of time actually just running scans on these machines just for no apparent reason? And I finally figured out that yes, I was. So that's when I started changing my process. And so
yeah, I think I'm with you. I basically use the scans. I might start with a scan either from a disk or some way if the PC is just too hosed to do anything on it. But then I try to dive in manually using auto runs and Process Explorer, figuring I can spot all the heavy hitters and clean it up, and then do my manual clean, feel that the PC is clean, and then hit it with a couple other scans, malware bytes, or something to follow up just for a second opinion.
Well, here's what I figured out. So just before I took his course, I was doing a virus removal on a computer, and this was only a couple weeks ago. And I was doing, because the customer gave me 2 computers at one time. they had no computers and they wanted one back, so I figured the older one I could get back fairly quickly, no big deal. And the other one, yeah, it was a Windows 8, and it was a mess. Everything was broken in there. But anyways, so I went and did a cleanup on their machine, and I cleaned everything up with my normal process. My scans, uninstalling, different pieces of malware, PC optimizer, blah blah, all these different types of things, right? And I got all this stuff done, got it back to them. It seemed like it was working better. Well, they got it, and their printer wouldn't work. There was some other things that wouldn't happen, and this has never happened to me before, ever. And I was like going, oh, and I've been doing this for actual customers for 5 years, and I'm like going, oh my gosh, what did I just do? So they brought it back to me, and this was after I had taken Ken's course. I went into the registry, found under the run keys exactly where something was running that I deleted and gotten rid of. But the registry key was still there, was still starting up, and I'm like going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. And so I learned something new, and hopefully I become a better tech for it. And that's what I tell that I never want to be one of those techs that just does something the same way all the time because that's the way I'm used to doing it. I always want to grow and make myself better. So
I think you and I talked about this before. Even though I've been doing this for I don't know how long time, and the only thing I'm sure I know is I don't know everything. That's the only thing I'm absolutely positive about.
No, that is so true. Once you think you know it all, you're on a downward spiral, man. I've been doing this since 1995 is when I got my first job working in the computer market, and I still don't know it all.
Yeah, you guys got a lot. I started, I'm back to the, TI 99 days when I was a kid writing basic code. Yeah. Up into the late 80s where I've got Commodore 64 and I was burning games illegally I had over like 500 games for that thing, and I was the only guy that had like 2 5.25-inch drives for that thing, and I think it was
I thought maybe you said you had a lot of cassette tapes. Jeez.
No,
I had cassettes for my TRS-80, man. That was where I started.
I had cassettes for my TI 99. That's where I played King's Quest, man. I still remember I had one of those one of those big tape players that you sit down on a desk and it flips open. You put the disc. We had made some cables up to plug it in, and you turn the thing on and you press play, and it's like making all these noises and stuff. Loads the game up, and it was a text-based game with very minimal like monochrome graphics. It was ridiculous.
So like 5 minutes loading it off a tape player. I remember that.
Exactly. And if you ever had a glitch, man, you lost your place. Oh, that was frustrating.
Hey, Tom, on Screen Connect, are you using the Manage Toolbox to run your scripts and stuff from?
I haven't really set much of that up. We just have, each of the techs have a folder on the Screen Connect folder. As soon as we get over there, we just dump all of our stuff right over as soon as we do it. We don't have
So you just dump a directory over with all your good stuff in it. Yeah, okay, same thing we do.
Yeah, it's just easier that way. Then whenever we add something, because we're pulling it off the network, just one more tool gets in there, or updated versions of the tools, and we just go right to town on it. You just know where that folder is. It's like, okay, we got you connected. You're going to see a couple things pop up. We actually have been more and more disabling their mouse input because playing tug of war with the mouse and keyboard from them has been aggravating. We tell them, we'll call you when we're done, but they want to start clicking on stuff because they don't see anything happening. We're transferring files, and they'll start canceling or deleting stuff. So disabling that keyboard input, that's become added to our procedure now. It saves us a little headache.
Wow.
But you don't blank the monitor, do you?
No,
you let them
never.
watch what you're doing? Okay. Right.
Yeah, I prefer they watch what I'm doing so they know I'm doing something.
Sure.
Sometimes if I can't get a hold of them, I'll call them and they won't answer if I actually need something from them, like a password they didn't tell me they had, and it times out and goes to that. We've turned the microphone on a couple times, and because you can talk to them through the mic, and I'm glad it's off by default, but like, can you call us? I know it scares the hell out of them, but I'm like, I'm in the middle of this and I can't finish the project. They're screen timed out.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny. I'm kind of glad I stumbled upon it. So, and you guys, are you hosting this on a server in your shop?
Yep.
All right.
Yep, I've had no problems with it. Even when I'm outside my office, I'm working from home, connecting through it, no issues. It's been really, really solid.
Yeah.
How many PCs do you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, if you get a chance, John, if you go to his website or go to his YouTube channel, he gives you a backroom tour of his shop. It's actually pretty cool. I like his setup.
I'll do that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I want to post. Like I said, I'm going to start documenting more of our processes, and I'm going to put all that on our YouTube, like step by step what we do when a customer comes in the front door, how we handle things. I want to kind of give more text like what we do here. I've got what I feel is a pretty solid process after 12 years. A couple things unique, and I'm trying to turn it an open source project, is we have our own point of sale that we wrote. So I want to turn it to an open source project. The reason it's not open source right now is the code is a complete mess. And we had external config files. We actually hard-coded passwords in it, so I can't just turn it over to anyone. But I'm working on that. It's one of my goals. I got some friends working on it. But back to Screen Connect, we got quite a few people on there. It's running on a Linux box. Sits by itself. I think I've only got all my machines are virtual. I think I only got a gig of RAM dedicated to it. It really just it's very very lightweight, very much not resource intensive.
How many systems you got on there for remote access?
I think I probably got about 15 of them because we're mostly using GFI for our businesses, so these are for our one-off ones.
Okay.
But we use it daily for all the call-ins that we get for remote support.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I think I'm going to just stick it up on an Amazon EC2, but I'm just wondering, because I'll probably have about 600 PCs on it that I want to RA into it at any time, so I'm wondering if that's going to kill me. The guy says it's only 60 bytes just to maintain the ping or whatever.
Well, my understanding, if you talk to Martin O'Ban, who has been using the Screen Connect for a long time, my understanding is just the major influx is basically the connection. Once the connection is made, it's very, very minimal going back and forth. But there's a big input output from the connection itself.
Well, I put it on a Flex EC2, and I'm on the free tier now, and I got about 15, 20 up there already, and it's working great. So I figured if I overdo it or just need more, I'll just shut it down and move it to another one.
Right.
Move it up, upgrade it. So that's kind of the power of that. So, all right, great. Thank you.
Very cool. All right, gentlemen. Well, it's getting close to 6 o'clock. I think I'm going to officially stop the broadcast here, and then you guys can hang out for a minute, and we'll exchange information or whatever. But anyways, enjoyed everybody coming out, and we will be here next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you next week.